What's up everybody, and welcome back to another video here on the Simply Car Things YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in as always, and today we're going to be diving into 5 ways that you can greatly increase the traction and grip on your BMW F8X car, whether it's your F82 M4, F80 M3, or F87 M2 competition. Now, as you might be able to tell by my voice, I have a little bit of congestion, so just if I sound funny, bear with me. But if you guys could go ahead and smash the thumbs up button as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not done so already, your support is very much welcomed. Now, with all that being said, let's get straight into today's video. So if you guys watch my videos closely on the channel, you'll know that I talk a lot about how F80s, F82s, they tend to struggle a bit with traction, and that's one of the hardest things to overcome with this platform, especially because of the powertrain and the fact that they can produce so much power, and if you're tuned, well, that problem only tends to kind of get worse. And then of course, these cars are rear-wheel drive only. There was never an X-Drive version like the newer G series of BMW M cars, and while I greatly prefer the rear-wheel drive, mainly just because of the darty handling dynamics and the fact that you can, experience oversteer and just have a lot of fun with rear-wheel drive, obviously there can be some challenges with providing grip to the rear end of the car, or just traction in general, whether that be during acceleration or while cornering, whatever the case is. So let's get into the first thing that you can do, and this is going to be the most obvious, which is upgrading your tires on your car. Now, this is not going to be a dedicated tire video or anything, but the BMW M4 came equipped with the Michelin Pilot Supersport tires from the factory, and these are basically a ultra summer performance tire, which is pretty good for the street, and they offer great handling and great dry grip as well. But there are obviously various types of tires that you can throw onto your car, and you can also throw larger and wider tires onto your car as well to help increase traction and overall grip. Obviously you have all seasons. Now, if you're in a place that experiences a lot of rain, snow, various dynamic weather conditions, then all seasons obviously make sense, especially if you daily drive the car, because you kind of need them to deflect water and deflect all kinds of stuff that's on the pavement of the road, and to make sure that your car is safe to drive during those conditions. Then you have your ultra summer performance tires, which are great tires for the street. You can use them a little bit on the track as well, and they offer pretty good performance overall without sacrificing safety or compromising ride quality overall. Then you can get into stuff like R-Comp tires, which are like 200 treadwear and below basically. These are great tires for track use. Obviously, they're not going to last nearly as long because they're going to be a much lower treadwear, but at the same time, they're also going to provide immense grip. So, if you're talking about like a tire for the track, you can look at the Yokohama Advan AO52s, the Nanking CR1s, Falcon RT660s, Bridgestone RE71Rs, all those tires. And while some of those are being phased out and some of them are a lot newer, you can do your own research, but they provide much more grip, not only to the front axle of the car, but also in the rear as well. Now, if you're someone that's just purely looking for straight line acceleration grip, and maybe you're tuned, you're running insanely high power, then it might be beneficial to run some sort of like semi-slick tire, or even, a drag radial or something. You can look into like Hoosiers, R888Rs, and while those tires are pretty bad on the track, if you're like in a drag strip scenario, or if you just want to have grip while you're doing pulls and whatnot, those are going to be a very consistent tire. I think the Nitto NT555R, it's a 100 treadwear, that's also a pretty good option. So overall, do your research, but tires are by far going to be the #1 most beneficial thing that you can upgrade on your car to give it better traction. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is boost by gear. Now, if you are tuned, whether it's through MHD or boot mode, you will have the option to adjust the boost by gear setting. Now, what this does is it limits the maximum output of the car's turbos while accelerating through various gears. So usually I think boot mode actually recommends that in first gear, you set the boost reduction to anywhere between 20 to 30%, and then in second gear, you set the boost reduction anywhere between 10 to 20%. And what this does is, because it's limiting the output of the car's turbos, you're not experiencing maximum acceleration in those lower gears, and it's more optimal when you're launching the car, when you are accelerating from those gears, obviously, where the power is so immense that it can easily overwhelm the car's rear tires. And again, that can also just help to maximize your traction and provide more grip to the car. Obviously, if you're not tuned, you're not going to have this adjustability, accessibility, but if you are, it's very easy. Before you flash a map, you just go into the configuration settings. Same thing like if you're going to adjust the car's burble or any of the other cold start settings or whatever, and there's an option for boost by gear. You just click the little drop down and there will be a bunch of sliders where you can set the boost reduction in each gear from 1 through 7. Now, third on our list is going to be upgrading your car's differential bushings and also adding a differential plate. So the differential bushings, or the diff bushings for short, on these cars tend to wear out fairly quickly. I think usually within like 45 to 55,000 miles, it's safe to say that they're pretty worn at that point. And because they are hydraulic and they are filled with fluid, if they begin to tear and leak, well, then the bushing is essentially rendered useless. Now, all that power, when it's being transferred to your car's differential, and if those bushings are pretty much no good, you're going to be experiencing a lot of slop and a lot of deflection within the car's driveline. As a result, you're not going to be experiencing consistent power delivery, and you might be running into a lot of frequent traction issues. So it's a fairly common upgrade to go ahead and swap out those OEM diff bushings for a set of like polyurethane, and that can greatly help to eliminate a lot of that driveline deflection and really help to maximize, again, your performance when you're putting power to the ground of the car. So not only is this beneficial for track use, but also for street use and just for acceleration. Again, if you're tuned, if you're running higher amounts of power than the OEM levels, this can only help to benefit you. If you're really crazy about going ham on your diff bushings, you can even upgrade to solid mounts, which are going to pretty much be indestructible, but at the same time, you are going to be sacrificing ride quality and comfort. That's really only to be used for like a dedicated track or like race setting. Now, you can also include a differential plate. So the differential plate that's made by Turner Motorsports actually allows for a second rear differential bushing to be included, as opposed to just one within the factory configuration. And the plate helps to absorb loads from both the car's drive shaft input torque and half shaft output torque. In combination with those bushings, just helps to tie everything together in the rear end and reduce a lot of that deflection, and also reduce the tendency for wheel hop, which is another very common characteristic. If you own or have driven these cars, I'm sure you guys have experienced that they can almost kind of like, the rear end feels like it wants to bunny hop at times, and that definitely can be reduced with the addition of a differential plate as well as differential bushings. Now, I don't have those on my personal car just yet because it is somewhat extensive. I believe to do the differential bushings, you are dropping the rear subframe to access them, so it's a little bit extensive, but well worth it in my opinion for the overall benefits that your car is going to be getting. Fourth on our list is adjustable coilover suspension. Now, how exactly do adjustable coilovers help with increasing grip on your car? Well, if you think about it, not only are you going to be lowering your car with an adjustable coilover system, but you're also going to have adjustable dampers that can be tuned and set up based off of your driving needs. So usually this is in the case of rebound and compression settings, and so if you increase to a stiffer damper setup, it allows the car's weight transfer force to reach the wheels, which thereby increases the traction. It's not being absorbed by the damper itself. Stiffer suspension setups usually deflect less, which ultimately reduces the efficiency of the damper itself to absorb shocks. So as a result, a lot of that weight transfer, as I stated previously, is being sent to the rear wheels, and ultimately that will provide you with just a little bit more grip that you may need to improve traction on your car overall. And of course, there are a number of other benefits to running an adjustable suspension setup, but if you haven't seen my Truth About Running Coilovers video, I would highly recommend you check that out. I will throw a card up to it at the top of the screen, because there are a lot of caveats when it comes to upgrading your car suspension, and you really have to know what you're doing and also know what you want specifically for your vehicle. Now, the fifth and final thing that you can do, which can dramatically help to increase overall grip on your car, is adjust the alignment settings or tune the alignment settings to a more aggressive setting. So if you're on a track scenario, or if you love cornering and you want just some more dry grip overall, it's going to be very beneficial to increase the negative camber on both the front and rear axle of the car. Because when you're experiencing heavy cornering loads, or when the car is experiencing those cornering loads, if you're running a neutral camber setting, the tire is going to almost want to like fall over onto itself. And if you're running just enough negative camber to basically counteract that, when you're cornering, the tire will naturally, flatten itself out, and while you're midway through that corner, you're going to be having the maximum amount of grip that that tire can produce. These effects can have a drastic difference on your car and the feel of your car while driving it. But obviously increasing camber also increases camber wear to your tires, and if you're running, you know, a lower tread wear tire plus all that camber, well, you can be burning up through tires pretty fast. So that's why a lot of track guys will have a dedicated set of track wheels and tires that they'll just swap to. That way there's less heat cycling going on, and on top of that they can preserve those tires for much longer than if they were driving just on the street. If you're just looking purely for straight line performance, then obviously negative camber isn't going to particularly benefit the car. If you want to have a neutral amount of camber on the rear end of the car particularly, that's going to obviously maximize that contact patch of the rear tires onto the ground, and as a result you'll have great off the line acceleration, but don't expect to get a whole lot of benefits in terms of the handling department. So there's kind of a trade-off, you know, you really have to sort of evaluate what is going to be the best for you. You can also adjust the car's toe settings, so especially in the rear, if you're running a little bit of positive toe, so meaning the tires are pointed slightly inward, that can also help to increase the amount of dry grip while accelerating, and that's due to increased drag being produced onto those rear tires. So the trade-off with that is you're likely going to have a slightly less top speed because of the increased drag, but as a result, acceleration is probably going to be more consistent and you're going to have better grip. So there's a lot of different ways you can play or adjust with the car's alignment settings, but ultimately understanding and learning how one thing can benefit from another is really important, and ultimately you can figure out what setup works for you. So there you guys have it. Those are 5 different ways you can increase traction and grip on your F8X M car. I guess that list kind of just goes for any car, to be honest, but particularly these cars because, like I said, you know, we all know that they tend to struggle with traction a fair amount. So if you found the video helpful, if you found it enjoyable, again, please make sure to leave a thumbs up as well as subscribe if you are new to the channel down below. And with all that being said, I will catch you all in the next one. Take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.